We are here at BSides Edmonton 2023 with Peter Scheffler, Senior Cybersecurity Solutions Architect at F5. Long title, but Peter, you just gave a talk, a keynote actually, and wanted to find out what you talked about.
Yeah, I'd like to know what I talked about as well. Well, it's a little bit of a story of stories, and it's helping people understand APIs and API security. I was having a conversation with a couple people today where, they're longtime technologists, longtime security people, but they're just understanding today how APIs play and how that really matters in your security architecture. And so what I sort of take the customer or take the people through a journey of is what an API is, how the changes can be versus a classic application or maybe what we might call a monolithic application, and how API protection is a little bit different, and how some of the business logic can be exposed to the user of the API, that's where some of the challenges come from. So if we're not properly authenticating and authorizing where we control the authentication and authorization versus the user of the API can make those changes, that's a problem. And if we sort of look at the old world of if I said, hey, admin equals true as part of the request, and someone just said, yeah, I'm going to make that true, and now suddenly I'm an administrator, that's a problem. We want to be able to log the user in and then say, have that database tell us what the user rights are. So that's some of the business logic that we want to make sure that we are controlling, and that's where some of the big challenges with APIs are. Allowing somebody to be able to go and change a chunk of data that isn't signed, so that we don't know that it has been changed. One of the other speakers used a great analogy of the valet parking, that if you get a valet ticket and there's a car in front of you that has a valet, and they're a Ferrari, or for me maybe it's a nice Mercedes, and I just go and use my ticket and I change it. I realize their ticket number is 18 and my number is 17. I change my 17 to an 18. That's something I can control and change. You, as the person looking at it, there's no repudiation, there's no validation. And so that's one of the challenges a lot of APIs have, is that we're losing that control. So we have to be able to understand who has the rights to make those decisions, and then be able to understand that those changes have been made. So things like signed JOTs, so that we know that the JOT hasn't been invalidated or changed since it was given to that user, and maybe validating that the JOT expires at a certain time. Those are important things. And then being able to not have predictable IDs. So if that person who parked the Mercedes isn't using a ticket that has an easily guessable number like 18, but it's a long GUID, a globally unique ID that's generated at a time, I can't go and guess that and change that, so I can't impersonate that other user. And so those are the things that we want to make sure that we understand inside of an API. And so those are hard things to understand. And so the eventual goal is to build a taxonomy of your API's space and be able to know where you have those uniquely identifiable IDs, and be able to go and say, I want to make the code changes, I want to make the changes to fix those and put in a globally unique ID opposed to a guessable identifier. Or do I have basic authentication? Maybe I should be looking at JOT tokens where I can issue a token and be able to revoke that token. And also things like, do I have personally identifiable information on endpoints that I don't want them to have? It could be a completely valid reason to have them in certain places, but they should be on authenticated endpoints, and they should only be in endpoints I control.
Awesome. Well, okay, a lot of things to think about with that. You've, in addition to that, wanted to ask you, you've been to a number of BSides actually, all across Canada and the US as well. You've been here for a day. Thoughts on how Edmonton's doing their BSides?
I got to say, Edmonton's kicking it with our BSides. It's the phenomenal attendance today. I was here in 2019 when I think we were in a small room with 50 or 60 people. Orders were several times that now. I don't know what the attendance number is, but I'd be guessing in the several hundreds, and that's phenomenal. It's really a mix of industry people and people looking to get in the industry, which is great. That's why I love it that it's here at NAIT at an educational environment where we can have, talk to people about how they're going to get into the world of security. There's lots of opportunities to learn. There's lots of opportunities to find jobs. So that's a great part of BSides. I love the side of BSides that is the community aspect. That's something you lose as you go to the huge several thousand person events that BSides really brings nicely.
Yeah, very cool. All right, if folks want to find Peter, I will throw in all of his information, tag him on all the things. Thank you very much, Peter.
Thanks for having me, Boo. Take care.